Good morning. Hope you're having a great week. It is Wednesday, August 13th at 8:01 a.m. Central Daylight Time, local time here in Oklahoma City. We're going to look for a load. So this isn't one of my normal load boards where I'm bouncing around like trying to show you the various markets. I'm looking for a load and you can watch me look for a load. That's what's happening today. I am finally back in service and there's a bunch of drama with that. It took me almost 2 weeks to get Landstar to process my DOT inspection and my maintenance report to put me back in service. They finally put me back in service yesterday afternoon, and I had to call them to get them to do it. They didn't just process it like they said that they would. I had to call them and be like, why is it taking so damn long? They're like, let me see. Okay, I found it. Okay, I'm going to process it right now. And then at 3 o'clock this morning, I got an email from Landstar telling me that they put me back out of service. I had to wait until they opened up at 8 a.m. to call them and find out why they put me out of service, because the email didn't say why. And they told me the reason I was put out of service is because my permit for California expired. My CARB permit for California expired at the end of July. And that's the reason they put me out of service. I'm like, what in the hell does that have to do with me being in service? It's a permit. It means I can't drive in California. It's like me not having a liquor permit for New York. That means I can't haul liquor in New York. Why would you put me out of service for that? And they're like, because I'm told that that's what we do. Like you're talking with a data entry person. They have no idea. And they're like, yeah, you've got to get your permit for us to take you out of service. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you know how hard it is to get that permit? Do you have any idea what the requirements are? And they're like, yeah, you have to get it inspected. I'm like, do you know what that involves? And she was like, yeah, you just, not really. You just got to get it inspected. And I was like, do you know that there's no inspectors in Oklahoma? And she was like, no, I didn't know that. Like, I have to basically drive to California to get that permit, and you put me out of service. So you're basically telling me that, like, I'm done. And they're like, well, you can still drive the truck, but I can't book a load. So you want me to deadhead to California to get this damn permit? This is insane. They said, and then after going back and forth with her for like 10 minutes, she finally says, well, you could also deactivate the truck on CARB's website. And I said, well, I don't know what's involved in that. Like, if I deactivate the truck, then what's the process of getting it put back in? Like, why do I have, like, what's going on here? and we went back and forth for like 15 or 20 minutes. She didn't really understand what was going on. She was just following policy and procedure. And like, it was really frustrating. And she said, well, what I can do is extend your out of service by 2 weeks. I can put you back in service for 2 more weeks, and allow you time to get this fixed. I was like, great. I'll figure out what I'm going to do. I'll look into what it's going to take to deactivate the truck. Like, I have a button where I can just deactivate the truck on the CARB site, but I don't know what I would have to go through to get it put back in, because I remember when I first set up the account, there was like a multi-day wait period for them to process stuff. There was a whole bunch of hoops that I had to jump through. But yeah, and I looked again into getting that permit, and I still can't get the permit done in Oklahoma. All of the places listed, like, let me show you this. This is their website to search for testers. And this is a public site. All of you should be able to go look at this if you want to. This, like, there's nothing like restricted access that I'm showing you that I'm aware of. But if you search Oklahoma, which it's really hard to do, for some reason, whoever the idiot is that designed this, you sort by city, not by state. You sort by city. So you have to like go look at each individual city, and they're spread like, it's alphabetically sorted by city, not state. Like, how insane is that? How dumb do you have to be? Like, that is so frustrating. But anyway, I called TA and asked TA Like, do you guys do this test? And they said, no, there's only a couple of locations in the entire country that do this test. And I went to the site and I looked for all the TAs that do this test. Now, there might be some Petros that do the test. Let me see. Let me see if Petro is in this list. Like, this is so, like, this is like some 1990s website. Who is the idiot? Like, and knowing California, they paid like $50 million for somebody to create this site for them. Like, this is, all right, yeah, we got Petro right there. Let's apply that. All right, so we got one Petro location. So we have a location in Tennessee. And I don't like the way that California lists this information. This is like, this is the guy's cell phone. This is his personal email address. Like, this is the information that the person gave to get the certificate, to get the permit to do the testing. This isn't like the contact information for the business. This is the tester's personal contact information. This isn't like the phone number for TA Petro. This is Lindsay's phone number, and this is his personal email address. That's messed up. California should not be listing these people's personal information like this. But all of these testing locations for TA Petro, 5 total locations in the country. And 3 of the 5 are in Arizona. One of them's in Ontario, California, which is LA. And then we have one out in Tennessee. Like, they decided, somebody in Tennessee decided to get their TA, set up to do these tests. So I called the TA in Tonopah, Arizona, this TA right here, and I asked them, like, what's the deal on these tests? Is there only like one mechanic certified at your location to do the tests, or like, can any of your mechanics do it? And they said that they have 3 mechanics that can do it. So there's a limited number of certified mechanics at these locations that are able to do the test. And TA told me the test is $75. What does the test entail? The test entails they have specialized equipment that they have to buy from California that last time I checked, I think it costs about $1,000. And they have to get certified every year, which I think costs like $50 or something like that. So they're making some pretty decent money doing these tests for $75 because all they do is they take that specialized equipment. It's an onboard diagnostics test kit. It's an OBD connector. So they take it, they plug it into your OBD, they click the button, it runs the test, and it says test passed or test didn't pass. Basically, it checks your computer to see if your computer says the DEF system is on or off. They don't actually hook something up to your pipe and check and see what the smog or anything is. They just check to see if the DEF system is enabled on your computer through the OBD connector. That's all it does. And then they go and they just submit it. They submit the test results. Yes, the DEF system is enabled. That's the whole test. Like, it's like 2 seconds of them plugging the thing into your OBD, and then it's probably 10 minutes or 20 minutes of them like filling out paperwork to submit the test results. Almost the whole process is them submitting the test results to California. But as you can see, there's nowhere near Oklahoma to do one of these tests. And if I go and I search for locations in Oklahoma, it's all private fleets. And I've called several of them. And they're like, who are you? Like, why are you calling me? It's these people's personal phone numbers. You're like calling their cell phone. And most of them were pretty nice. They were like, yeah, I got the certification for, whatever fleet that I work for, but we don't do it for the public. This is just for our own personal, like, private fleet. I just do these tests for our fleet. So almost all certified testers are private fleet testers. They're not, like, open to do public testing. The only places I know of that do these tests are over around California. I did talk with one of the private fleet people that was like looking to make some extra money, and he was like, "I'll do the test for you for $1,000." I was like, "Go fuck yourself," and I hung up on him. Uh, Sorry about the language. I try to keep the language tone down, but like just thinking about that guy, that pissed me off. I dealt with that quite a bit when I was a truck driver 20 years ago. I haven't run into it too much now. For those that don't know, I got my CDL the first time in the early 2000s, and I drove for like 3 years and hated it, gave it up, and I ended up surrendering my CDL. So when I got back into trucking a second time, I had to go through the whole process of getting my CDL, going to CDL school and everything. And it was two completely different experiences. Truck driving is a lot better now than it was 20 years ago. And 20 years ago, what I ran into a lot of was people like receivers. It was mainly receivers, not shippers, receivers that were like always trying to get me, the driver, to give them money to unload the trailer. You'd show up at a receiver like an hour early and they'd be like, "Well, I can go ahead and unload you now if you give me $50." That was really common 20 years ago. I ran into that all the time. And I ran into a ton of issues with lumpers wanting me to give them crazy amounts of money. And it's just, anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, I have to get the whole carb thing figured out. I can't stand California. I think I'm just going to end up deactivating my truck, but I don't want to do it until after I book a load. I've got my load alerts set up right now. No alerts yet today. And we're going to manually look for a load as well. But like there was a load posted yesterday while I was out of service that was going from, it was one of those LTL loads. It was like the last load I left the house on was a Rheem air conditioner load, Rheem Rude, going from Lewisville, Texas, and it had 3 deliveries in the state of Washington. Well, another one of those loads was just posted picking up in Lewisville that had 3 deliveries in California. And it was $7,500 on the full rate, of which I get about 70%. That load was on the load board for about 10 seconds. I don't know how somebody booked it that fast, but as soon as I got the load alert, I went to look at the load and it was already gone. Like I looked at the load within 10 seconds of getting the load alert and the load was already gone from the load board. So, okay, what search we have going on here? Right here, we're just looking for loads that are really close to Oklahoma City. So what do we got going on here? Looking for loads that pick up tomorrow or later. I can't do a pickup today. The truck isn't ready to go today. I need at least one day to, get the truck ready to go. So we're looking for loads that my prices are really low. I'm just looking for loads within 150 miles of Oklahoma City. Why is it not letting me search? 4 available loads. And I can't do anything on this page. This is part of the jankiness. Let's do the cancel button. All right, let's refresh. And mainly what I'm looking for here, all of these loads have been sitting on the load board for a long time. 24 hours, over 24 hours, 6 days, 2 days. Any load that sits on the load board for more than like an hour is not a good load unless it's picking up way, way in the future. And even then, those loads are, if it's a good load, it's still probably not going to sit on the load board for more than an hour. But yeah, these all look like crap. Usually, I've already looked through all of these. What I usually do when I look at loads that are near Oklahoma City is I'll just go through them and look at the comments to see if it's some kind of dedicated run. These are not dedicated runs. So let's edit the search. Let's extend it out to 250 miles. Let's do a minimum revenue of $1,200. 35 available loads. Now we're only looking at direct customer loads, contract freight. not all the spot market crap. Okay, yeah, as expected, it's tons of Florida loads. I will usually exclude Colorado and Florida from my results because, yeah, I would take a $2.50 mile load out of Dallas going to, lots of places, but not to Florida or Colorado. So I'll usually exclude them from my results because the results will just be flooded with them. What I'm mainly looking for with this low rate, the low revenue that I have it set at. All right, sorry, we're sorting it by revenue. This thing is defaulted to sort by the agency code. I don't know why they would set it up that way. It's really annoying. So Sulphur Springs, all right, Florida, Utah, Grand Prairie to Salt Lake City. This is the VAM agency, which has FedEx and Saia contracts. And Grand Prairie, I know, has a Saia terminal. This might be a Saia load. 32,000 pound weight. Well, that's what they put on the LTL loads. Like they put them on all the FedEx and Saia loads. That's just a made up. They don't know what the weight is. They just put 32,000 on all the LTL loads. Florida, Florida, Florida. You know what? Let's edit the search real quick, and let's take Florida out. Do I already have Colorado out? Yeah, let's take Colorado out. You know what? I'm not seeing a lot of Colorado results. Let's go ahead and leave Colorado in for now. If I see a bunch of Colorado results that are a bunch of crap loads, like there's one Colorado load, Louisville, Texas to Denver. It's the LTL agency. So this is one of those Rheem Rude air conditioner loads that has one extra stop on it, $3.50 a mile. It's not a good load. That's bad. All right, let's sort this by revenue again. Let me pause this for a sec. All right, sorry about that. We're back. All right. Grand Prairie, Salt Lake, North Carolina, Minnesota. I'm just skimming through these. If I see something that looks interesting, all right, so here's the DDB agency, Terrell, Texas to Espanola, New Mexico. So this is one of the Maddox loads. It's shelving, retail shelving units, $4.09 a mile, but Espanola, New Mexico, it's going to have a huge deadhead. That's out in the middle of nowhere. There's not much of any freight coming out of New Mexico. I like Dawn. I like that agency. I like that account. But it doesn't pay very much, and it's going out in the middle of nowhere. I don't want to mess with that. And that doesn't pick up for 10 days. All right, I'm not seeing anything that looks awesome. All right. So let's check something real quick. Let's see what the Portland area, the Portland Seattle area is like. 250-mile radius, that's going to be Portland and Seattle. 13 available loads. Sort by revenue. All All right, what do you got? Grants Pass, Oregon to Santa Fe, New Mexico. 15 extra stops, 26 extra stops. Did I finish saying what the price was on the I can't remember if I finished. It was $75 to do the carb test according to TA. 75 bucks. I think I mentioned it, but I was sitting there thinking about that. I know that I got off on a tantrum about it, but I can't remember if I finished saying the price. $75. Grants Pass, Oregon to Phoenix, Arizona. Like every single one of these loads from here down are the same agency, the SUL agency. And they're almost all multi-stop loads. They're not that great. All right, now let's go edit the search. And let's change the minimum revenue up to $3,000, which is what I normally have it at. So the Seattle Portland area doesn't look very good, but if I find a good load going up to that area, I'm still going to take it. I still haven't given up on the Seattle Portland area yet. So let's go back to Oklahoma City. And we have 3 available loads. So North Carolina, Minnesota, and Utah. This Grand Prairie, Texas to Salt Lake City load doesn't pick up for 2 weeks. It picks up August 27th. And it's been sitting on the load board for 11 days. All of these loads have been sitting on the load board for a while. This one's 22 hours. This one's 14 hours. And I'm not getting any load alerts. I have my load alerts set pretty low, to a lower threshold than what I would really take. But my load alerts are very similar to the search that we're doing right now. Let's check a shorter radius. Let's do 150 miles. And let's see if it'll let me search without any... I think it requires me to put in... I know on a load alert, it requires me to put in a minimum rate per mile, but let me see if it'll let me do a regular search without one. On load alerts, you have to put in a minimum of 50 cents per mile. And there are agents that will put in loads that have like 0 rate per mile and 0 revenue. I don't know why they do that, but you can't get a load alert on those. Just a second here. Let me check my cameras. I heard a noise. I don't know what it was. There's nothing going on outside. All right, so here are the tire loads. Lawton, Oklahoma to DeKalb, Illinois, or DeKalb. I don't know how they pronounce that. So $2.30 a mile, which I only get about 70% of that. So what is that? $1.50 a mile? That's cheap. I'm just skimming through here for like some kind of local runs. Oklahoma City to Las Vegas, $1.41 a mile. What? Let's look and see if there's a comment on there that's like, oh, we're actually paying $15 a mile. No, there's not. This is like, what kind of person negotiates ridiculous rates like that? It's like, yeah, we would like for you to haul stuff for us for free. We, run at a loss on this load. Could you do us a favor? Yeah, I'm not seeing anything interesting. All right, now let's do this. You know what? Let me pause this. I don't want to mess up this saved search. So we're going to do a completely new search. Just a second. All right. So 64,000 available loads. 63,390. So we're not going to do an origin or a destination. We're going to look max weight 45,000 pounds. All trailer types. No, we're going to do containers, vans, needing power only, expedite. Yeah, that's good enough. And we're going to do minimum revenue of $8,000. 20 loads. Now, I'm not limiting these by contract freight or by teams. So let's just see. There's only 20 loads. Let's just look at them. These might be team loads. They might be just made up spot market Fantasyland stuff. So San Bernardino to Salt Lake, 3,400 miles. There's 2 extra stops on it. There's 2 of these loads listed by the CGI agency. They're a legit agency. I haul loads for them all the time. They're the ones that have they have a Saia contract. So let's see what this is. Same route available every week for teams. So dedicated run. San Bernardino to West Valley City, Utah, to Burridge, Illinois, to Salt Lake City, Utah. And then I'm guessing you have to find your own way from Salt Lake back to San Bernardino. But that's $11,558. That's the full rate. You get somewhere around 70% of that. Oh, they have the fuel surcharge broken down. So we can figure out exactly what this load pays. So let's figure it out. So it is 11,558.55 minus 1,762.55. So that's 97.96 times 0.65. So that's 6,003. The line haul pay on this is $9,796. And 65% of that is $6,367.40. Plus, we add the fuel surcharge back in because you get 100% of that, 1,762.55. So that's $8,129.95. So what this load actually pays to the truck, gross to the truck, if you're getting 65% line haul, is $8,129.95. 11.8 point, which comes out to 70.3%. I mean, we could have just done 70%. It would have been really close. That's the reason I say it's approximately 70%. All right, so yeah, there's a team run that goes from San Bernardino to, I don't know. Let's look at the map. So it goes from San Bernardino to Salt Lake City to Chicago, back to Salt Lake City. And then you can either deadhead back to San Bernardino or find a load to go from, Salt Lake to San Bernardino. And you can do that. You can do that run every week as a team. And I'm pretty sure that's the Saia account that's hauling. You're not going to be hauling doubles. You're not going to be hauling Saia trailers. You're going to be hauling a Landstar trailer with Saya stuff in it. And so they have one of those listed for this week, another one listed for next week. So the 16th is Monday, right? No, the 16th is Saturday. So it picks up Saturday, and the 23rd is Saturday. So these loads start every Saturday, and they end, the 21st is Thursday. So you're going from Saturday to Thursday. And in all honesty, I would be willing to bet you money that they don't care about you delivering this early. You can probably deliver this as early as you possibly can. I have never had an issue delivering a Saya load early. Ooh, Louisville, Texas. So this is a Ream load to Bozeman, Montana. Oh, there's two of them. There's one to Bozeman, Montana, and one to Auburn, Washington. Why did I not get a load alert on the other one? Let me pause this while I get this pulled up. All right, we got it pulled up. Let's see what we got here. Louisville, Texas. All right, one of them's already gone. So the one going to Auburn, Washington is already gone. Let me see if I can pull up the details on it. So what were the extra stops? Picked up the 15th, which is 2 days from now. And it was going to... since it's already booked, it won't let me look at many of the details. There's a whole bunch of blank details on it. I can still zoom into the map. Okay, so it looks like there were 2 drops in Portland and then a final in Auburn, Washington, which is the south side of Seattle. And let me see. Total mileage. It doesn't have the total revenue listed on here because the load's already been booked. But it does give me the mileage, and the rate per mile was $3.50 a mile, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure it was $3.50 a mile. So it's 2,000. Let me get this pulled back up. 2163 times 3.5. So it's paying $7,570.50. This is the same load that I got a load alert on like a half hour ago. So I think they're having issues. There's something going on with this load, and they keep reposting it, but they're only putting it on the load board for like 1 second. So maybe they're having issues assigning it to a driver or something. I'm not sure what's going on, but that's the load that I was talking about. No, that was a different load. Anyway, yeah, there's been a few of those LTL loads, the Ream loads, that I've seen over the last couple of days that I was interested in. But this one right here is still on the load board. Louisville, Texas to Bozeman, Montana. Let's refresh, see if it's still there. Oh, wow. What's going on? Louisville, Texas to Winterville, North Carolina. I just now got the load alert on that. So this is another one of the Ream Rude loads. 1,300 miles. I'm hesitant to take any loads to North Carolina because North Carolina was just destroyed by a hurricane within the last, I think it was within the last year. I can't remember exactly when it was, but I want to say that this area it's delivering to is like, I think Greenville was one of the areas that was devastated. I don't want to go over into like a disaster recovery zone unless they're going to pay me crazy amounts of money. And this load is not paying crazy amounts of money. I don't like going over the East Coast in general. but we'll look at loads that are posted going over there. But the Bozeman, Montana, this is a bad load. Bozeman, Montana is out in the freight desert. Yeah, they're paying $372 a mile, of which you get about 70%. You're not going to make $372 a mile. You're going to get about 70% of that, which is 3.72 times 0.7, $2.60 a mile. That's a really good rate to run gross to the truck. For you to make $2.60 a mile gross to the truck, that you're doing really well. But Bozeman, Montana is out in the middle of no. So you're doing a drop in Billings and then another one in Bozeman. Does it only? Yeah, it's only got one extra stop. So Billings and Billings, Montana, and Bozeman, Montana. You do not want to be looking for a load in Bozeman, Montana. If you find a load picking up within, 300 miles of Bozeman, Montana, it's most likely going to be paying like $1 a mile on the full rate. So you're going to make like 70, 80 cents a mile, and it's going to be a max weight load. It's going to be a 45,000 pound load paying 80 cents a mile to the truck that's going to some bad destination. You don't believe me? Let's check. Watch. This is going to be the one circumstance. This is going to be the one situation where there's like some amazing load. I have been in Bozeman, Montana and Billings, Montana many times looking for loads. So let's see here. Let's wait a second. This is what am I, which search is this? This is my, okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to figure out if I want to edit this one or not. Yeah, we can edit this one. So let's look at Bozeman, Montana. And let's increase it to 300 miles. 0 loads. Let's take the minimum revenue down to 0. Still 0 loads available. Let's take the minimum rate per mile down to 0. Oh, 2 loads. 2 loads. With no minimums. Actually, you know what? I have destination restrictions. Do I want to edit that? Let's check it. Let's check and see what we've got here first. Well, these loads are actually paying over $2 a mile. So we have Bear River City, Utah, going to Fife, Washington, and Butte, Montana, going to Jackson, Tennessee. 40,900 pounds and 15,000 pounds. So it's not a max weight load. There's one on here that's not a max weight load. It's a 286 mile deadhead from Bozeman. It's paying $240 a mile, of which you get about 70%, but it's only paying $1,851. So you're going to deadhead 300 miles, and let's figure out what 70% of this is. 1851 times 0.7. That's not right. I did times 7 instead of times 0.7. 1851 times 0.7. $1,300. So you're going to deadhead 300 miles to pick up a load to go into a horrible market. You're going to Seattle. So you're going to get paid nothing to take a load all the way halfway across the country to Seattle. You're going to drive halfway across the country. You're going to drive from the center of the country, well, not a little off center, Bozeman, Montana. You're going to drive 300 miles to pick up a load to go to Seattle. You're going to drive almost halfway across the country and make no money. And you're going to be in a bad market. You're going to have to take another really cheap load. So these loads are horrendous, but this is set to contract freight only. Let's switch it over to look at spot market freight. Oh, we went up to 126 loads. Let's see what we got going on here. Let's look, let's sort it by rate per mile. So we got Bear River City to Burley, Idaho, $400. Okay, these are a bunch of like loads that are paying like $100. I don't care if it's paying, let's say you find a load that's paying $50 a mile. Is that a good load? Is it? Do you have enough information to determine whether or not that's a good load? It's paying $50 a mile. Okay, so here's another piece of information to help you decide. It's going 1 mile. Would you bother hauling a load for $50? Even if it was just going 1 mile. They just wanted you to come over and move a trailer from one dock door to another dock door, and they're going to pay you $50 to do it. Is that worth your time as an owner operator? No, it's not. Now, if you're already at that location and you're sitting around waiting, for something, then maybe it might be worth your personal time. For me, I wouldn't even bother doing it because I only get 70% of that. What's 70% of $50? $35? Is that right? Off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure it's $35. I'm not even going to bother a calculator, doing that, but around $35. Is it worth my time to submitting all the paperwork, calling and booking the load, just all of the paperwork and process involved with doing that, and then the physical labor of actually doing it? You're talking like a couple of hours of work for $35. So it's like $17 an hour roughly. And then, you don't really have any expenses, I guess, coming out of that. So yeah, it's just like $17 an hour is roughly what they're paying you to do that. I wouldn't bother doing it. It wouldn't be worth my time to deal with all the paperwork. And then you might have to deal with not getting paid for it. And that's a whole bunch of extra time you have to spend on the phone, waiting on hold to talk with people. All right, let's sort this by revenue because all these high rate per mile loads are just tiny little short runs. So yeah, I don't even really look at spot market loads in all honesty because some of these loads, they're not good loads. They're not good loads, but they're not like horrible loads. These aren't like 80 cents a mile. But the thing is about this spot market stuff is when the agents list these spot market loads, they're basically just throwing numbers. These are just fantasy land make-believe loads. Most of these rates, if not all of these rates, are unconfirmed. This is what the Landstar agent thinks that maybe they might be able to book the load for. So if you call on one of these loads, they're going to say, okay, let me check and see if that load's still available. And they're either going to put you on hold or tell you they're going to call you back. And if they don't call you back, then that load's not available. They're not going to bother calling you back if the load's not available. That's my experience. But if they do call you back, it's probably going to be, oh, that load, I got good news. That load is still available, but they aren't able to do $1.93. Would you be willing to take it at, 78 cents a mile? That's the kind of stupid crap you deal with on the spot market. So that's the reason I generally just exclude spot market loads from my results, is because it's just ridiculous nonsense. If I'm looking at spot market loads, it's because I'm desperate. All right, so yeah, Bozeman sucks. Don't take loads to Bozeman unless you know what you're doing. Let's go back to Oklahoma City. Oh my goodness, no. I didn't change let's go back to 3,000 and 250 and take the radius back to 250 miles. All right. There we go. So yeah, the Bozeman, Montana is still sitting there, and the North Carolina is still sitting there. I'm curious. I'm not going to call on this load. I'm not interested in taking this North Carolina load, but I am curious as to if Greenville is where the hurricane was at. Let me search real quick. All right, so it looks like the hurricane actually went to the western side of North Carolina, not the eastern side where Greenville is at. And let's go back here and look at the map. Oh, it's Greensboro, North Carolina. I think that's the one I was thinking of, not Greenville. The final destination is in Greenville, but I think Greensboro which is one of the delivery locations. I think that's one of the spots that was hit really hard. But yeah, it was over here in Western North Carolina. There's another Greenville right there in South Carolina. Green this, green that, green that. All right, so let's close out of that, close out of that. And let's go back to looking at all these loads. So we had the San Bernardino. So what I'm looking at the entire country, is I'm looking to see if there's any like awesome dedicated runs. When I first leased onto Landstar, the load board always had these loads listed at $100,000. What were these $100,000 loads? They were tours. Landstar's load board used to always have tours setting on the load board. You could sign up to do these tours where you would sign a contract for like 3 months where you were just going to drive touring equipment around for people. And like that used to be something that was common on Landstar's load board, was tours and, you know, dedicated stuff like that, like long-term contract loads. And you don't see that stuff anymore. That stuff has become really rare. I'm not even sure if the agency that does that tour stuff is still with Landstar, or if they're just not getting very much of that stuff, or you know, they're just working with drivers directly that they have relationships with. They're not posting it on the load board anymore. I don't know what the deal is, but you never see that stuff on the load board anymore. I think it was the MEC agency. Let's look at this one. 21st, 28th. This is the VAM agency. I think this is another team dedicated. Drop and hook both ends. Possible hazmat lane. Weight can range from 2,000 to 42,000, but is almost. This is what they copy and paste into all of their loads. This is a team load. So Chicago to Elk Grove, California. And they have one posted on the 21st, another one posted on the 28th. So it looks like they have this load every week. So you might be able to work out something with them to where you can have that load every week. Instead of them putting it on the load board, they just call you and say, hey, do you still want this load this week? And I think these next two here are also, well, these aren't paying that well. They're huge mileage runs, but the rate per mile sucks. The only one that has a good rate per mile is at San Bernardino to Salt Lake. Let's see if this one's the VAM agency. This is the NYG agency. I've never hauled a load for them. Fairfield, California to West Palm Beach, Florida. Oh my goodness, it's going to Florida, to Palm Beach? Like, that's way South Florida. And it's only paying $2.20 a mile. Wow, that is so bad. That is such a bad load. That is not a team load. It's a 7-day load, a full week, 3 extra stops, 3,600 miles. I'm not even sure if that's possible for a solo driver. I guess you could maybe squeeze in a 34. Like, you can do, like, theoretically, a solo driver can do somewhere around like 4,200 miles in a single week, theoretically. That is such a bad load. You could actually do more than that with higher speed limits. I'm talking about like a 65 mile per hour governed truck. You could theoretically do like 4,200 miles in a week. All right, let's check, see what this one is. This is the NYG agency, is, you know, Fairfield, California to Tyler, Texas, just absolutely terrible rate per mile. All right, CGI agency. So this is probably another SIA load. Burr Ridge, Illinois to Rocket Center, West Virginia. A couple of extra stops on it. No comments. So it's going to Salt Lake, a couple of stops. So it's going from Chicago to Salt Lake down to the middle of nowhere, Utah, that's close to Las Vegas, and then over to West Virginia. Norwalk, Ohio to Bothell, Washington. 25,000 pounds of plastic rubber, 2,300 miles, paying $3.50 a mile. That looks like a really good load. That doesn't pick up until the 18th. That's 5 days from now. But what's really weird about this is it doesn't deliver until September 1st. All right, let's look and see if there's any comments that explains why, you know, there's such a big gap between the pickup and delivery. Because that load is paying really well. There's no comments to explain this. So that looks like it's over by Cleveland. Huh. Like, I could find a load to get me to like Cleveland. Like, there used to be these dog food loads that were posted on the load board all the time that picked up in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and they went to Columbus, Ohio, I think. They were really heavy loads. But I could take one of those loads over there if they were still on the board. But I could probably, if I really wanted this load, I could probably, like, there's enough time. There's 5 days. I could find a load to get from where I'm at now over to the Cleveland area. But there's something weird with that load. That's like a really good load, according to the details they have listed on there. It doesn't make sense that it's been sitting on the load board for a full day. But it does, you know, say that it doesn't deliver until September 1st. So that's like 2 weeks from pickup to delivery. Oh, here's one that is $6 a mile, paying $11,500, but it's power only. It's picking up at an Air Force base in Utah, going to LaGrange, Georgia. Let's look at the comments on this. You don't want to give up your trailer. Trailer utilization at Landstar is a nightmare to deal with, and like, you could be sitting around for a couple weeks trying to get another trailer. Oh, it's over dimensional. So it's wide. It's 12 feet 11 inches. So it's basically 13 feet wide. The standard trailer is 102 inches wide, which is that 8'6"? 102 divided by 12. Yeah, that's 8 foot 6 inches wide is a standard trailer width. So that is like 3 feet wider than a normal trailer. Legal height. Driver will need to provide chains, binders, and be a U.S. citizen. Chains and binders. What type of... This is really weird. They have it listed as power only. They don't say what trailer type it is. Why would you need to bring your own chains? And what is it? I don't even know what a binder is. This sounds like a flatbed load. It doesn't sound like a power only load. So you're picking up at an Air Force base north of Salt Lake and taking it to LaGrange, Georgia. Sounds highly specialized. And that does not pay very well for overdimensional freight. Overdimensional freight, usually when I see overdimensional freight, it's usually paying like 12 or 13 bucks a mile. Like $6 a mile is pretty cheap for overdimensional freight. But maybe it's just not too wide, so it doesn't require like, maybe it doesn't require like escort vehicles and a whole bunch of crazy permits or anything. Maybe that's the reason it's not paying really good money. I don't know. I'm not familiar with oversize overweight. I've never hauled it. Never really looked into it. Here's another one from a different agency. I have this set on direct shipper. Oh, I've got it set on all. Oh yeah, I remember. So this is most likely a spot market load because it's listed by multiple agencies. Let's look at it again and see. Direct shipper, no. Yeah, so this is some spot market load. So this Air Force base load, this overdimensional load, there's a bunch of people bidding on it on the spot market. VAM agency has these massive mileage loads going from Garland, Texas to Fontana, California, and Buford, Georgia to Fontana, California. They're big pay, but their rate per mile is only like $2.55 a mile. I bet they're team loads. Yeah, team, yes. Whenever you see something 4,000 mile load, usually that's going to be a team. Drop and hook both ends. Weight can possible hazmat. Yeah, this is their copy pasta that they put on all their loads. Here's another. These three right here, all the VAM agency. Hillsborough, Tennessee to Elk Grove, California. And then down here at the bottom, we have Orangeburg, South Carolina to Kings Mountain, North Carolina. 43,000 pounds of hazmat. $1.89 a mile. 5,000 miles. Who negotiates these horrendous rates? So yeah, this search was basically to see if there were any really awesome loads anywhere in the country. Let's refresh real quick. Oh, here's a brand new load, 0 minutes old. Houston, Texas to Secaucus, New Jersey. I don't know how to pronounce that. Power only, 27,000 pounds, $2.58 a mile. Wow, that load sucks. Houston to Houston, power only. T-Val. I don't know what T-Val is, what that load type is. It's a big mileage load, and it's paying a good rate per mile. Let's look and see what this is. This looks like a good load. Pickup preloaded customer trailer. Deliver to California or Canada. It's just CA. They don't specify. That can be California, it could be Canada, where you will hook up to an empty reefer trailer to return to Houston. Must have sliding fifth wheel. What? I don't like sliding my fifth wheel. McClellan, California. So Sacramento, Houston to Sacramento and back. Damn. Resin Solution Hazmat. So because this is a round trip, it's not a big deal that it's a power only. Because basically what you can do is you can park the Landstar trailer, take this customer trailer, take it to Sacramento, bring their other trailer back here to Houston, and then pick your Landstar trailer back up. This is tempting. Like Houston is a huge deadhead. I want to say Houston is like 600-mile deadhead. Would I be willing to drive 600 miles to get this? Just deadhead down to Houston. It doesn't pick up until the 15th, which is Friday. I would have to drive a full day. So I would have to get ready right now. I would have to leave tomorrow and drive all day tomorrow to get to Houston. The 15th through the 18th. So they want you. So their expectation has 3,800 miles and they want it done in 6 days. And I would have to drive somewhere around 500 or 600 miles to pick the load up. I couldn't do it. Like if I were close to Houston, I could probably pull this off. You'd be running hard. But because I have to drive 500 or 600 miles to pick the load up, it's impossible. That would be like 4,400 miles in a single week. That's not possible. So yeah, this load, even if I were willing to drive all the way to Houston to pick it up, I couldn't do it. But if I were sitting in Houston right now, I would probably book that load. I'd at least call and talk to him about it. There's a whole bunch of these Utah Air Force Base loads going to LaGrange. Whole bunch of Landstar agents are out here bidding on that load. And I am getting almost no load alerts. My load alerts are basically set up for a 250-mile radius around Oklahoma City, $2.50 a mile, which is $1.75 a mile to the truck. I get about 70% of it. So I'm looking for loads that pay me at least $1.75 a mile and that pay at least $3,000, which I get about 70% of that, which is, what is that, 2,100 bucks? 3,000 times 0.7, 2,100. So I'm looking for loads that pay me at least $2,100 and at least $1.75 a mile. And I'm getting almost nothing. Hardly any load alerts. All right, let's go back. Let's refresh this one last time and then let's sort it by age. Oh wow, that Houston load's already gone. What was that other load we were looking at? I think they're both gone. There was that one to Secaucus, New Jersey or whatever that just got posted. That one is gone. There were two loads posted within like the last 15 minutes, and they're both gone. Oh, here's one that was supposedly just posted. There's a whole bunch of this. So this is probably some spot market load, and there was probably just a new post. No, there's two of them. They were just posted. No, this is the VAM agency. So this is probably contract freight. There's certain agencies that don't post a lot of spot market loads, and certain agencies that that's all they do is repost spot market crap. I don't think they have any of their own freight, even though that's a requirement to become an agent at Landstar. You're supposed to have your own contract freight to be able to be a Landstar agent. So this is a team load, and yes, it is contract freight. It's going from Chicago to Valdosta, Georgia, to Ellenwood, Georgia, and then to Elk Grove, California. That's a hell of a drive. All right, let's go back to that's not what I wanted. Let's go back to here. Yeah, nothing going on. This is my search around Oklahoma City. If anything pops up on here, I should probably get a load alert on it. So while we're waiting on a load alert, I guess we can keep refreshing this and see if any new loads get posted. This is basically any load over $8,000 that's a dry van load anywhere in the country. You know what would be absolutely amazing would be some kind of dedicated run for a couple of months. I would love to go out for like 2 months, just like some dedicated contract, just shuttling stuff back and forth. Like there was some dedicated run that I signed up for a few years ago. I ended up not doing it because the agent lied about the load, but it was hauling a certain number of loads, which they estimated it to take 6 months. I think it was 6 months is the estimated contract length. But it was a certain number of loads going from Huntsville, Alabama to Texarkana, Arkansas. So you were loaded from Huntsville to Texarkana and then you drove back empty. And you got paid all mileage loaded and empty at the same rate. And it was hauling coal. And you were hauling them in brand new, uh, I don't know, like rock hauler style trailers, like open top trailers, but they were brand new. You were going to pick up the trailer from a dealer. That was part of the load, and that was what they lied about on the load. Was they told us the load was paying 350 a mile on the full rate. I think that's what it was. And I talked with the guy for like an hour on the phone. You know, getting set up on this dedicated run. Him explaining to me all the stuff about it. I was like, everything sounds awesome. And I mentioned multiple times during the phone call the 350 a mile. I was like, man, I found a whole bunch of dedicated stuff, but I've every time I find a dedicated run, it's paying like 250 a mile or something. And that is just a ridiculously cheap rate for how good the market is right now. This is the first time I found a dedicated run that's paying close to market rates at like 350 a mile. And he was like, yeah, it's a really good contract or something like that. And then like a week later, he sends an email out to all of us that signed up for it, and it has the freight bill with the contract details, and the load's paying 250 a mile on the full rate, of which I get about 70%. So this thing's paying me $1.75 a mile. It's paying like $1 a mile less than what I agreed to. So I called the guy up and I'm like, what the hell? And he was like, well, no, the 350 or $4 a mile, whatever it was, that's only for the very first load. Every load after that is at the 250 rate. And I was like, yeah, that's not like, that's something you should have probably said, mentioned something about. You did. He's like, oh, I didn't tell you that. Like, no, you didn't. So that's the kind of shady stuff these agents do. A lot of people are so non-confrontational that if an agent can trick you into calling them, and even if everything that they told you, everything on the load listing, even if all of it was a lie, if they can trick you into calling based off that lie, a lot of people will just go ahead and haul that load, even if like it's a way cheaper and everything's different than the load listing. Agents do that kind of stuff all the time because a lot of people are just so incredibly non-confrontational that they'll just take whatever they're offered. I am not that way. I'm borderline too confrontational. Like, yeah, I'm probably a little too confrontational. I'm not afraid to just like tell somebody to, things that I don't want to say on the video, and hang up on them. What is this? 16 minutes ago, Houston, Texas to Talk Alaska. Yeah, you don't want to go to Alaska even for $5 a mile. $18,000 load. I considered taking a load to Alaska, and I sat there and I set up a load alert for loads coming out of like Anchorage, and I didn't get a single load alert over like 3 days. So I was like, yeah, if I take that load to Alaska, I'm probably gonna have to deadhead 3,500 miles back. So whatever rate you see going to Alaska, basically cut it in half. That's the way I do Colorado and Florida loads. Your deadhead is so big afterwards. And if you go into someplace like Bozeman, Montana, also, if you're going anywhere into the freight desert, where you're going to have a massive deadhead afterward, then the way I determine if the rate's good, cut it in half. If the rate is good, if you find the rate acceptable once you cut it in half, then, go ahead and take it. That's a good load. So if you find a load that's paying $8 a mile going to Bozeman, Montana, cut that in half. Now it's paying $4 a mile. Is that still a good load? Like if it was going to a normal market paying $4 a mile, is that a good load? Yes? Then go ahead and take it. It's a good load. You can, cover your deadhead. But, let's say that they're offering you $3 a mile to take a load to Bozeman, Montana. Cut it in half, that's $1.50 a mile. Is that still a good load? No, it's not. Oh my goodness. There's nothing going on the load board. What time is it? 9:18 a.m. Yeah, this is like the busiest time of day for the load board. Between like 8 and 10 a.m., probably the busiest time on the load board. And there's not a whole lot going on here. So when I'm looking for a load, Normally what I'll do is I'll come and I'll manually search around the load board to see what's going on. And then I set up load alerts and I just set and wait on load alerts. I'm not actively looking for loads on the load board all the time. And I haven't heard anything about the Home Depot account. Or no, not Home Depot, Hobby Lobby. I think Hobby Lobby is I think it might be the only dedicated run that I've ever done at Landstar. I can't remember. But I did it for like 3 days and like the pay was just so bad. There were so many issues with it. It was hauling containers, and none of the containers were legal. There was not a single container I hauled that was 100% legal. I was terrified of getting pulled in for an inspection while I was hauling that equipment, and they would not fix it. Like, I was putting in repair requests, and they were just telling me, we're not going to fix it. Like, they said you can haul it or you can not haul it. That's basically what they told me. We're not going to fix it. I was like, yeah, okay. So there were lots of reasons that I stopped doing that Hobby Lobby account, but the pay was terrible and I was afraid of getting a ticket. There were lots of reasons, but and they were extremely rude to me. Like they advertised themselves as being some like Christian business or something, and they were some of the like the guy that was like managing the account at Hobby Lobby. I had the agent as a contact and then I had a Hobby Lobby contact. My contact at Hobby Lobby was so rude. Like so incredibly rude. But anyway, the guy that told me about that Hobby Lobby account, do I still have that note? I've got that note right here. Let me pause this. I'm going to show you the note. I've got it laying around here somewhere. All right, I found it. Let me cover up his phone number. He left this on the door of my truck. It says, hello. It's hard for me to read in the camera, so I'm just going to show it to you for a second, then I'm going to read it to you. It says, hello, my name is Ron, and I'm leased to Landstar as well. I park in space B19. I'm currently doing a power-only run between Oklahoma City and Dallas. I'm home daily. If this interests you and you want details, call me and I will get you with the agent. So I gave Ron a call and he told me about the Hobby Lobby account. And let me refresh this while I'll keep refreshing this while I tell the story. We'll see if any loads come in. But I call up Ron and he's in the process of driving between Oklahoma City and Dallas. I can't remember which direction he was going. And, he tells me about the run. And for somebody that's doing the run, he didn't like know a lot about like the run. Like he wasn't really certain of exactly how much it paid. And it's like, oh, okay. But he knew quite a bit like where you pick up, where you deliver and stuff like that. So he was a really chatty person. I ended up talking with him for like an hour, and I was like, all right, well, I need to get off here. Like, he was just having fun talking to somebody, something to do while he was driving. So I got off the phone with him, called the agent, and the agent started, giving me details about the load. And I also had issues getting like concrete information from the agent. And I ended up going back and forth with the agent in email exchanges clarifying the pay on the load and how it was broken down and all that stuff, which is really shady. That's very suspect whenever you can't get clear information about how much the load pays from an agent. Like that's a big red flag. But and they weren't even really sure what the mileage was on it, and like there were different locations that you could possibly be going. Like there was a whole bunch of like stuff up in the air on it. But I got as much information as I could on it, and I was like, this isn't very good, but it would be nice to have a dedicated run. And I was like, you know what? Let's give it a try and see how many runs that I can do in a week. And I gave it a try for like 3 days, and I was like, no, this is not for me. I was hoping that I would be able to do like 7 or 8 runs per week. And I think you made something like $450 a run. Uh, I have an entire spreadsheet on this load where I broke down everything, and I think I've done a video on it. But I could only do one load a day because of how much time was wasted at the pickup and delivery, and because of all the issues with the trailers, having to put them like every single container that I picked up, every chassis, uh, basically had to be put in the shop. And I was having to fight with the shop because they were refusing to fix stuff. They would just tell me, go find another, go ahead and cancel this load. They basically tell me that they weren't going to fix the container or the chassis. And I would have to cancel the load and have them assign me a new load. And I would go pick up that chassis, and that chassis would need to go in the shop. And so I would go put it in the shop, and they would tell me, we're not going to fix this one either. And I would have to cancel that one and I would just do that over and over again. I would go through like 3 or 4 loads before I would finally find a chassis that I was just like, fine, I'll take it. And it still wouldn't be legal. Like it would still have issues. It would need to go in the shop, but I would just get frustrated and just, that's what they were betting on. Like they didn't want to work on any of these chassis. These things were like 50 years old. Almost every chassis that I hauled was made in the 70s. And they were not maintaining them. They weren't repairing them properly. It was horrible. But yeah, I did that for like 3 or 4 days, and the agent got so mad when I told him that I was going to stop doing the contract. He became like rude on the phone. I had a lot of issues with the agent and my Hobby Lobby contact being really unprofessional. Uh, it was really obvious in the way that they communicated with me that they were used to like talking to certain types of people, to people that were untrustworthy and lazy. Like they just assumed everyone they were talking to was a piece of crap. That's the way they talked to me, is that they just assumed I was a piece of crap. But I remember whenever I like told them that I was done with the contract, I sent them an email and I said, hey, don't schedule any more loads for me. I forgot exactly how you know what? Let me find the email. We don't need to guess. Let's pull it up. Let me pause this. All right, so I found the email. It's not actually as bad as I thought it was, but you just have to understand this guy. Let me see here. So I sent an email and I said, hello, please do not book any more loads for me at this time. If you already have additional loads booked for me, I will run them. Thanks. And they sent me an email and said, I already sent you one for tomorrow. I will take you off Sunday's list. You will run tomorrow's, correct? And I replied and I said, yes, I'll run the one you already have for me. And then they wanted an explanation as to why I was dropping the dedicated run. So it wasn't as bad, but you just, if you were to just read this, it doesn't look that bad. But knowing how this guy reacts to stuff and knowing how he talks to people, like I could hear the way he was saying this. Like I could hear, like I could understand what he was thinking. Like he was mad and he was like, I've already got loads booked for you. Are you going to take this load? Like I said that I would, take whatever loads they have booked for me already. And then he's like, I already have loads booked for you. You going to haul these loads I have booked for you? That's the way he responded. But whenever you're just looking at it nonchalantly from another perspective, then it doesn't look or sound as bad. But yeah, this guy was a real jerk. All right, let's go back. I'm not getting any load alerts. There's hardly any movement on the board. There's nothing going on. Like, I think I'm going to go ahead and just end the video because, like, there's really nothing going on the board. This sucks. Is there some, like, news event going on? Let me check the news real quick. All right, there's no breaking news. Because, like, like when there's some major event happening, stuff stops. I think everyone that was, like, old enough to remember 9/11, they remember like 9/11. They know where they were at. They remember everything. When 9/11 happened, I was working in a call center. I was selling AT&T wireless phones. It was an inbound call center. I wasn't like cold calling people. So people would basically call and want to activate, AT&T wireless. But in this same call center, we did Bank One credit cards. We activated Bank One credit cards, and I can't remember what all else. There were several different departments. Constant phone calls all day long. When on 9/11, like, it just shut down. Like, there were no calls coming in at all. It was weird. And the managers were like, you guys can, like, go hang out outside if you want to while we figure out what's going on. And like there were like almost everyone was outside in the outside break area, and no one was inside sitting at their desk, and there were no calls coming in, and the managers were trying to figure out what to do, and they ended up sending everybody home. They sent everybody home after just a few hours. But it was really like, yeah. I think everyone that was old enough to remember 9/11 remembers very key details. Like there's weird stuff that I remember about 9/11. Like whenever they shut down the air traffic, I remember that the air like tasted different. Like there was a different smell and taste in the air. Like the air, like the air felt like it was cleaner on 9/11 whenever they shut down all the air traffic. Uh, like it was weird. That could have just been like some illusion in my mind, but like the air like felt cleaner after 9/11 after they shut down all the airplanes. But yeah, we got a new load. Fairburn, Georgia to Redmond, Washington. JQL. So this is a Google load. This is a good load. If I was over in the Atlanta area, I would book this load. Electronics, 1,200 pounds, 2,600 miles, 313 a mile. Oh my goodness, I would love to have this load. Yeah. Atlanta to Seattle, paying 313 a mile. 1,168.20 of it is fuel surcharge. So somebody asked me, does the full rate include fuel surcharge? It's the full rate. It includes everything. What the terminology that they use for like accessorial pay is breaking it out. So you have the full rate, which on this load is the $8,188.20. That's the total amount the customer's paying for the load. And what the Landstar agent will do is they'll break out that pay into different pay buckets. I get 65% of the line haul, 100% of the fuel surcharge. I get 100% of certain things, 65% of certain things. I don't know if I get any different rate. I think I pretty much get either 100% or 65% of everything. So some things I get 100% of, some things I get 65% of. And what the Landstar agent will do is they'll break things out into different pay buckets. And that will change your overall percentage that you're getting of the full rate. So yeah, that's a good load. I would definitely like to have that load. Let's see how long it sets on the load board. So 3 minutes. It was posted at about 9:39 a.m. And it can be very difficult to reach the JQL agency that has the Google account. It can be difficult to reach them on the phone. So, oh, it's already gone. 4 minutes. Within 4 minutes of being posted, that load's gone. Really good loads, they're gone within a couple minutes. One of the ways that you can set up load alerts is that it calls you whenever you get a load alert. So a lot of people have their load alert set up. Whenever they get a load alert, they get a phone call and it says, you know, I've never set up load alerts to call me, so I don't know exactly how it works. But the last load that I did, the driver was sitting there bragging about how much money he made and how he books loads and everything, and he was telling me about how he does it, and he has it set up so that it calls him. And he said that what it does is it calls you and it tells you, you know, basic information about the load. It's going from here to here, this rate per mile, this revenue, and then it like asks you if you want to call the agency or something like that, and you like say yes or something, and it calls the agency, and then you book the load. So that's most likely what happened. Somebody had a load alert of some kind, and they called instantly whenever they saw that load. They got right through, and they booked it. That's like really good loads. They're only on the load board for a few minutes. For a really good load to be on the load board for more than 15 minutes that's weird. Usually, if a really good load is sitting on the load board for more than 15 minutes, it's because the agent forgot to take it down off the load board, which they usually won't forget for very long because they'll just be flooded with phone calls. So the agents want to pull the loads off the load board as quickly as possible to stop the flood of phone calls. So yeah, if you're looking for loads, whenever you're booking loads, if you're just booking whatever crap you see on the load board, you're hauling bad loads. The only way that you're going to get good loads on Landstar's load board is to set up load alerts. And you have to call fast whenever you get a load alert on a good load. Whenever I get a load alert, I look at it really quick. I'll look at like the rate per mile, the rate, the pickup location, the delivery location, the pickup date, the delivery date, the agency code. I'll look at the comments, see if there's any comments. I try to do all of that as quickly as possible. It usually takes me about 15, maybe 30 seconds to make a decision on a load. And then I call. And a lot of times that's not fast enough. Oh, one of those Lewisville, Texas loads got booked. Was it the Lewisville, Texas to Bozeman, Montana? That one, somebody booked that. One of the loads disappeared off here, and I'm pretty sure it was the Lewisville, Texas to Bozeman, Montana load. That was a bad load. But who knows? Maybe somebody negotiated a higher rate on it. Who knows? But yeah, let's go ahead and wrap up the video because there's not a whole lot going on Landstar's load board. and I'm just going to be sitting around waiting for load alerts. And I have to figure out what I'm going to do with this carb permit for California. I remember there was some kind of federal lawsuit against California against their emission standards because states aren't allowed to disrupt interstate commerce. And with California basically having their own set of rules for interstate commerce, that disrupts interstate commerce. And there was, I'm pretty sure that there was some kind of federal. Let me Google search this. Let's search and see if I can find any updated information on this. See if there's anything going on with it. All right, I didn't realize that was going to be so involved. It's too big of a topic for me to research in a couple of minutes. There's a lot of lawsuits going on between California and lots of, the federal government and trucking companies and like tons and tons of people in regard to their EPA stuff. Um, so yeah, I don't know what's going on with it. There's tons and tons of stuff going on. Uh, but yeah, I hope that they crack down on states like California disrupting interstate commerce by, creating uh, their own little system. Because even if you're not picking up or delivering in California, even if you're just driving across California to go from like Arizona to Oregon, you still have to follow their ridiculous regulations. So you have to have their car permit and all the rest of that stuff. So it's annoying. Let me refresh this one last time. Oh, 2 minutes ago. Oh, we got some new loads. Oh, Alaska sucks. Alaska, Alaska, Alaska. We'll have a whole bunch of Alaska loads. And they all are listed almost exactly the same way. Very similar prices. I suspect they're all the same agency. Just listed a whole bunch of Alaska loads. Let's see what the agency is on this one. VED agency on all of these loads. This one's the AUY agency. This one's the VED agency. And this one's the VED agency. So almost all of the Alaska loads are one agency. Over there. All right, one of the Alaska loads looks like it disappeared. I think the AUY agency Alaska load disappeared. And I can't tell if any of these other loads are new because they're multi-loads. And it just says multi. It doesn't give me a timestamp. San Bernardino to Salt Lake. This is that team load that we looked at earlier from CGI. Why is that? Okay, did the age? All right, I think that the sorting got screwed up. Yeah. The sorting got screwed up. That's the reason the list looked really weird to me. Somehow it reset the sorting. That's just part of the jankiness of this load board. But yeah, there was just a whole bunch of Alaska loads posted within like the last 5 minutes. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap up the video. I'm just going to continue sitting around waiting for load alerts. I can't tell if this thing is fully charged or what. This is my virtual reality headset. This is well, this isn't the actual VR headset. This is like an optional headset that's supposed to feel better. and it has an extra battery on it that gives you a longer battery life. And I try to charge it up occasionally so the it doesn't drain completely down and ruin the battery. And it has these indicator lights on it that are supposed to like tell you like how full it's charged, but they're not lighting up. And I was going to disconnect that and plug my phone in because my phone's down to like 20% charge. But I don't want to disconnect it until I'm sure it's fully charged. So my phone's still got a few hours left in it. So I'll just wait a few hours and then plug my phone in. But yeah, I have a Meta Quest 3 headset, a virtual reality headset. Virtual reality. There's two terms that are commonly used for marketing and sales purposes that are just laughable. One is AI, artificial intelligence. There is absolutely nothing that exists right now that is remotely close to artificial intelligence. They're large language models. And if you're familiar with programming, which I am familiar with programming, all of these AI programs are the same types of programs that people have been making since they've been making programs. They're just like specialized into a certain type of output. And there are a lot of people that just don't understand it. And they're like, wow, these programs are able to do things that human beings can't do. Like almost every computer program is capable of doing things that human beings can't do. But anyway, so yeah, every time I hear somebody refer to a program as artificial intelligence, it just, we are not even close to creating artificial intelligence. Nothing we have out right now. And, it's all marketing and sales stuff whenever they talk about, oh, these programs are getting, so advanced, like they're doing things on their own and stuff like this. They're not. We're not close to artificial intelligence. Another term that people use that's laughable, virtual reality. So apparently, if you get a monitor and you put it really close to your eyes to where it takes up your entire field of view, that's virtual reality. Because that's what MetaQuest 3's VR headset is it's two monitors, two really tiny monitors that they put so close to your eyes that it takes up your entire field of view. That's what the virtual reality headset is. So why did I get the MetaQuest 3? I got it for trucking. At home, I have I don't know how big these monitors are. They're like 24, 27-inch monitors. I have two really big monitors at home. In the truck, I have a 17-inch laptop monitor. That thing is hard to see. Especially it's so far away from me because I have the laptop and I can't stand the laptop keyboard. So I have a real keyboard that I plug into the laptop that sits in front of the laptop. So I have the keyboard and then the laptop's way over here and then the monitor's at the back of the laptop. So it's so far away from me and it's such a small screen, I can barely see the damn thing. So I got the MetaQuest 3 headset so that I can have massive, and for some things that headset is awesome. It's actually amazing to watch movies on. Like, imagine watching a movie on, like, a lot of the things, the MetaQuest 3 is really awesome. It's really awesome. It's overpriced. It's a kid's toy, really, is what it is. And it's priced like a functional, like, work product or something like that. It's like, I forget how much I paid for it. Like $600 or something. It should really be like $150. That's approximately what it should be priced at. It has performance issues. You can't really do a whole lot on it or it'll lag really bad. It's like a kid's toy. But it is really nice for certain things. Like even playing video games and just doing regular stuff on the computer, it's pretty awesome. The picture quality is not that amazing, so it's kind of blurry on stuff. But you don't notice that when you're watching a movie. Watching a movie is absolutely amazing. Oh my goodness. I love watching movies on the VR headset. It is so awesome. You know what? This makes me want to go I'm going to go get my VR headset, plug it into the computer, and I'm going to use it right here at the computer. Like I'm in the mood to like watch a movie on VR right now. But it is awesome for the truck. If you have, you know, $600, $700, $800 to just throw away, I highly recommend the MetaQuest 3 headset if you have a powerful laptop. It requires a pretty beefy laptop. I mean, you can run the MetaQuest 3 standalone, and it has apps built into it and stuff like that, but you're very limited in what you can do directly onto the headset. What I use it for is to do virtual desktop into my laptop. So I basically just use it to connect to my laptop, and I'm using the VR headset, virtual reality headset. I'm using the headset as my computer monitor. Is basically the way I use it. That's all I use it for. I don't use apps on the MetaQuest 3, but it is really awesome. You can watch YouTube directly on apps and stuff on it. I watch YouTube and stuff like that through my computer, my laptop, and I just view it through the headset. And I really, really like it. It was a good purchase. I think it's overpriced. I think it's, you know, the performance is lacking, but I'm still happy with the decision. One of the things you can do is you can turn off, you can turn it into like, I forget what mode it is, but normally it keeps the picture like, like level or something like that, but you can change it to where it reorients based off where you're looking. So normally if you were to like lay down, the computer monitors would still be like right here, and you just be looking at black space up here. But you can change it to where it follows your eyes, or you can have it readjust. So you can, one of the things that I'll do in the truck is I'll lay down in bed, and I will just be laying there looking up at the ceiling, watching a movie in virtual reality. And it is awesome. You can resize the screen as big or as small as you want. You can move the screen up really close to you or have it really far away. You can make it look like a movie theater. It's pretty awesome. And there are a couple of, like, the little intro demonstration game that they have for it is actually kind of fun. I played it, you know, just like once or twice. Did a bunch of, I think a bunch of those Alaska loads disappeared. Um, but it's a cool little intro game to show you what the headset's capable of. The graphic quality is terrible, but you can use the little controller things on it, and like you're just shooting at things all around you. And you know, they're like, and it has the ability to do mixed reality, so you can have it set up to where you can actually walk around and see the room, but there will be like an animated object that'll like break through the wall and stuff like that. Like there's some really cool stuff with it. It's not virtual reality, but it's it is pretty cool. I wish they would come up with a new name for it, because I don't think virtual reality is you know, correct. It's just marketing. But anyway, yeah, I if you don't have, like, if $600 would be hard for you to come by, then I wouldn't dump, you know, $600 into it. But like, it's a nice gadget to have in the truck. I don't use it at home, like hardly ever, but I use it in the truck all the time in the truck. But anyway, yeah, let's wrap this video up. And I'll keep sitting around waiting on a load. But have a good one. Bye.